Greetings, Internet. Welcome to But I'm Still a Good Person by Vince Nicholas. I'm Vince Nicholas. I'm joined by my sparkling wifey, Carolyn Nicholas.
Hi.
Hello, honey. Thank you for joining me at our dining room table for our little program here. Okay. We saw Top Gun Maverick today. It was very exciting. And we're just going to call it Top Gun 2 because that's what it is. And Top Gun Maverick is many syllables, and we don't have time. We have very little time left on this earth. Couple decades, honey.
2 is 1 syllable. Maverick, that's 3 syllables.
Yeah. We don't have time for that.
No.
Tom, okay? We only have a few decades on this earth, and then we go up to see Xenu and L. Ron Hubbard into the firmament, as it were. But we saw Top Gun 2 today. And it was freaking Tom effing Cruise, Top effing Gun, United States of effing America. That's my headline, yes.
Best movie of all time ever.
So flippin' good.
I was smiling and or laughing and or on the edge of my seat and or crying.
Yeah.
One of those 4 things was happening every second of this movie.
Yeah, I was grabbing your leg.
We were squeezing each other's hands and legs and limbs.
You might have some bruises on your knees or thighs, honey, because I'm really strong. Mm-hmm. I lift like Tom Cruise, okay, when he's wearing that short sleeve white tee working on the plane, which... Has he ever worked on a car in his life? But when he's unscrewing the... Johnson rod or something. They make sure to show his buys, and he's a good looking. He's in good shape for a 59-year-old man. But you might have bruises. But if I wasn't squeezing your leg in excitement and thrills, I was rocking my fist like I'm at a freaking Kid Rock concert. Is that what happens at a Kid Rock concert? or a Hootie and the Blowfish concert? I don't know. But it was just, it gave me so much joy.
Yes.
Happiness.
It was so much fun. It was exciting. It was scary. It was funny.
Yeah.
It was emotional.
Well written. Perfectly cast.
Oh yeah, the casting was great.
Casted. Just the special effects, we could go on and on. But first, let's talk about the original Top Gun. Let's take a slight detour to the 1986 original, which we watched last night. Was it last night or Thursday?
Thursday night.
Thursday. Today is Saturday. So my headline about the 1986 original Top Gun is that it's homoeroticism mixed with toxic white masculinity. Your reactions, honey.
I think that is perfectly put.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun, exciting movie. It's full of classic moments.
It's so 80s.
Images. It's so 80s. Yeah. It's a fun time, but it's cheesy as hell.
Yeah.
The plot is very weak.
What plot?
Exactly. There's
it has the PLO, but it manages to leave off the T. Yeah.
The conflict is nothing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just like people yelling at each other about nothing.
Yeah. People sweating in an aircraft
Everyone
carrier.
is sweaty constantly.
Well.
The soundtrack is fantastic.
You need to change out the filter. Yes.
The image is fantastic, and the planes are great.
Mm-hmm.
I think the original Top Gun is only good through the lens of nostalgia.
I think, to address the homoeroticism, everyone looks at the volleyball scene, which is very...
it's on the nose.
A lot of shirtless guys. Shiny, shirtless guys. But when we watched it the other night, I was just surprised because I didn't... But the amount of locker room scenes... Like, they're in towels.
Yeah.
And so, in the volleyball scene, Goose. Goose is wearing, like, a sleeveless tee because Anthony Edwards doesn't lift or something. He's not super yoked or whatever, like Iceman. But in the locker room scenes, he's shirtless. And there's periphery characters. It's a lot of shirtless dudes in towels. It's very, for the lack of a better word, gay. And that's fine. I mean, but you're like,
Yeah, the sexual tension between, like, Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise. Anytime they're heated and in each other's faces, I just expected them to start making out.
Yeah.
Kind of wish they would have.
Yeah. Well, it was the 80s, honey. Then the toxic white masculinity. I owe mostly to Iceman. But you made a comment that you remembered him as the villain.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't.
He was kind of an antagonist to Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the villainry in my head was a lot less when we rewatched it.
Yeah.
He didn't really have a lot of bad guy moments like I remembered.
Fun fact, my 7th grade science teacher, Mr. Bird, who was a tall, skinny white man with a buzz haircut, he was the stunt double for Goose. Mr. Bird, Goose. Oh, it's all coming together now. But he was the stunt double for Anthony Edwards in the wide shots. So when you can't tell who the hell is playing volleyball, that was him. He was on screen for about 3 seconds. But he played volleyball, and he sort of looked like Anthony. He didn't look like Anthony Edwards. He was a ginger dude. But that was his claim to fame and sort of mine. And then where a lot of it was filmed was a base called Miramar, which is in San Diego, which at one point I lived with my family, my parents. We lived super close, like a couple minutes away, a couple miles away from Miramar. And I remember my neighbor Dottie, next door neighbor, old lady, smoked, read National Enquirers all frickin' day. And she would complain because when they were filming, she'd be like, they're flying 100 feet from our roofs. And she would, that would give her aggravation. Like, they're always filming and flying and it's so close to where we live. But like, we would go to Dottie's on Sundays and she would have some snacks. But she would have like tabloids, National Enquirer, Star, all that nonsense. And I would love these magazines. I would devour them, and I would read about Michael Jackson being the Elephant Man or all this bullshit, But I think that was like the beginning of my fascination with like fame and celebrity and just
it's all because of Dottie.
Yeah, Dottie, our neighbor. Rest in power, Dottie. But that's what the original Top Gun means to me. So, Top Gun 2. What does Top Gun mean to you in your life, honey? Top Gun 2 Maverick. We saw today 10:20 showing. I love the early showing.
Oh, yeah.
We were done by 1.
Yeah, perfect.
We were out of the theater. And we went to Downtown Commons. Okay. So, one thing I popped in my head is that back in the day, before you could reserve a seat to a movie, and you would just show up, and then you would have to get in, find your seat, and sit there and hold it. You could put a jacket down or whatever if you had to go to the bathroom. But like Lennox and Luna will never know the hardships, the struggle. Like sometimes we would get to a movie so early that they would have us queue. They would have us line up against the wall, waiting for the current showing to empty out. So everyone's got to get out of there, and then the theater staffers got to go in there and clean. Although let's be honest, there's not much cleaning going on. They sweep up some popcorn. It takes 5-10 minutes, and then they would come out, and then they would let us in, and we would. It'd be like what's the game where you play with the chairs? Musical chairs or whatever. And everyone would rush to a chair, and you would have to sit there for 45 minutes, an hour plus, because you couldn't reserve seats. It was a wild time. It was crazy.
Wow. It sounds so stressful.
Yeah.
I remember, I mean, the reserved seating for movie theaters is a fairly recent thing.
Yeah.
Like just the last 10 years, maybe?
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah.
So I definitely grew up with the Wild Wild West seating also, but I can't remember it so well.
Yeah. But have you done the, like, when you buy a ticket, you're like, let's go see a movie. It's Friday night, the 7 p.m. showing or whatever, and it's 90% full. And you buy your ticket late because there's a line and you got to get in there and, like, the trailers are running and you're like, where am I going? And the only seat is at the very front right, so you got to strain your neck. And and John Hamm's head looks like the size of freaking a pine tree or whatever.
Yeah,
like, looking out like,
I definitely remember sitting in the first or second row and you have to crane your neck and like angle your spine like a candy cane, and it's very uncomfortable. And oop. Yeah, I remember sitting way too close for some movies. But then also in the days before you had assigned seating, I don't think you had recliners in theaters either.
Oh my god!
So not only were you in the very front, but your back was totally upright.
Yeah.
So you literally had to thrust your neck back. It was
Girlfriend.
horrible.
Oh yeah, and they didn't put much thought into the seats either. So like the row in front of you was pretty much the same height as you were, and so if someone tall sat in front of you, or just someone normal height who sat an odd way, you'd be like, oh man, I gotta move now. The kids will never know. Well, it's like ads. Lennox and Luna hate ads. They 5-second ads, ads longer than 6 seconds boggle their freaking mind. But it's like, wow, we used to watch 4.5, 5-minute ad breaks. This is how it was. It was a horrible time. How did we survive, honey? Oop. Okay. I wore my Ice Cube Boys in the Hood t-shirt today. And we parked. What we do is we park in West Sacramento at Drake's, the barn. And then we walk. It's a good 20, 25-minute walk. It's a nice walk through Old Sac to Doco to watch the movie. On our way there, you asked me if you look like a sickly Victorian child. Were you uptight about your makeup or something, my love?
I was not wearing any makeup today.
Okay.
And
I like that look, or I like the very subdued makeup look, as you know.
I do know. I was feeling nauseous last night. I took some Pepto-Bismol.
Yeah, I delivered the Pepto-Bismol to you in bed.
And then this morning I woke up. I felt sick. We did a couple of errands this morning. I was still feeling sick. There's no way I was missing Top Gun 2, though, and we'd already bought our tickets. Yeah. So we walked there, and I was just, you know when you're feeling nauseous and you're like hot and your body is in a sheen of sweat? Yeah. So, well, you were wearing pants and long sleeve sweater, and I was wearing a t-shirt and shorts because it was like high 70s, low 80s. It was. I thought it was gonna be cooler today than it was. Yeah. Yeah. So I was sweaty from my sickness. I was sweaty from the walk. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like I probably look super pale, super glistening, and. I think you look. I like you low key, natural. Thank beauty, you. Less makeup. I like you without makeup. Thank you, darling. Although sometimes I put it on, if you know what I'm saying. So the trailers. First off, Maria Menounos. What's her deal? Oh my goodness. Like, she is so freaking annoying. Is this the only thing she's doing? That she used to be on whatever ET or Access Hollywood or Extra, but now she does the movie bits, pre-trailer bits. And she did one where it was her and I think a female comedian, and they were playing a game where Maria Menounos names a movie, and then this comedian lady would have to guess if it was from a book, right, or not from a book. And so Maria was like, Shawshank Redemption, and the lady was like, book, Top Gun, not book, and it went back and forth and back, and I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Like, what the hell? How did Maria Menounos get this gig? She has a monopoly on these pre-movie. Every movie we see. Yeah. She's in these little bits beforehand. Yeah, this is her deal now. I don't like it. I don't like it either.
And you can be like subtle about it. Here's whatever Tom Cruise talking about Scientology for 6 minutes, but that game was just so.
It was very loud.
So loud and obnoxious and bad. You wanted a frosty beverage, so I packed an Atkins bar. Well, you had the backpack. I put an Atkins bar in your backpack, but we didn't count on bringing a frosty beverage, even though we have bottles of water all over this place. And so you wanted to get a Diet Sprite, and I said no. Because the profit margin is such a ripoff. Everything's a ripoff at the movie theaters. I don't get popcorn anymore.
I just thought something bubbly would help my nausea, help settle my stomach. But then when we got up to ask for free cups of water, and I looked up at the board and it was like $7 for a soda, I agreed with you. Yeah.
And Panda Express is right next door, but they weren't open yet. We went to... They open at 10:30. We're before then, so... We got a couple of little waters. It breaks my heart if we would have had to pay for anything at the movie theater nowadays. It breaks my mom's heart, honey. What about Grandma Tian's frugalness? Yes.
2 free cups of water was a good call, and then I sucked on the ice throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And you know what? I was cured by the end. Tom Cruise cured me.
That's the e-meters they put you on there. I noticed that the audience was old people, lots of them. I mean, that's who goes to movies nowadays. Okay?
That's who wants to see Top Gun 2, maybe.
Yeah. The young kids are on the TikTok, okay? Watching attractive women point at words that pop up on the screen and dance. I fear for entertainment, honey. I really do. The lady next to you asked, how do you recline? And you were like, oh, there's a silver button right next to you. Like, has she never been in a recline? Is she going to the Tower Theater only that has seats from 1962? It was odd. And then you pointed out there's a heater also.
Yeah. Well, because I was already sweaty. So I was like, be careful. Because just below the silver button is the little miniature button to turn on your seat heating. And I've accidentally turned that on before. And then all of a sudden your booty is hot. You wonder why.
I've never used the heater.
I've never intentionally used it.
Do they use it in like Minnesota where it's negative 18 or whatever? I would never want to use the heater. I never would. And doesn't Minnesota have climate, the HVAC system? Very odd. Trailers, an Adam Sandler basketball drama. Okay, whatever.
Boo.
I don't think he cares anymore, and that's fabulous for him. But as someone who enjoys cinema and film and entertainment, I could care less about what Adam Sandler's up to right now. And he doesn't care either, it seems like. Dramatic Adam Sandler. We watch Uncut Gems. Worst movie ever.
We didn't really like it.
A lot of yelling. It was more than that. It was terrible.
That movie is critically and audience acclaimed.
I know.
But yeah, I didn't like it. You didn't like it.
Because it sucked. The audience and critics are dumb. Another trailer for the next Mission Impossible, which looks fantastic.
Cannot wait.
And this is the movie where Tom Cruise yelled at some lowly production staffers about masks or whatever.
Right, yes.
I was like, oh. So are you okay with that, honey? Him chewing out people who aren't worth $900 million?
No, I'm not.
Over a mask.
But you know what else I'm not okay with? Scientology! The crimes of Scientology.
And they do this. Salma Hayek did this with something we saw recently. But so the trailers play. First of all, it's 29 minutes. There were 29 minutes between Maria Menounos and the beginning of the freaking movie. And it's trailers, but then they show a few ads now. There was an ad for Hotels.com in the middle of this.
It's so egregious. They intersperse the trailers with these advertisements.
Yeah.
And I'm prepared. I don't like it, but I'm prepared for 20 minutes of this crap.
Yeah.
But this was 30 minutes.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, what's next? 45 minutes? 6 hours? It's too much. And then, so the trailers play, and then we're like, okay, the movie's gonna start, but then it's Tom Cruise saying, "Hey guys, we out here making movies. Thanks for coming." Is that effective?
You're about to watch Top Gun Maverick. I'm so happy you're here.
We appreciate you. Why?
I don't like this. It's a new thing. We've only seen it a few times lately. I hope this isn't a thing that's here to stay.
Yeah.
It takes you out.
Yeah.
It's directly before the movie.
Yeah.
It's cringy. Yeah. Tom Cruise is right in all of our faces.
Yeah. It's inauthentic. Tom Cruise doesn't know. He don't know me. He ain't out here. It does take you out because you're like, I just want to see you as whatever, Ethan Hunt or Pete Mitchell. Mm-hmm. You don't need to talk to me. And I think it was a COVID thing because like they're trying to get us back in the movie theaters, and Top Gun's box office was boffo. Biggest box office opening in Tom Cruise's career this weekend, honey. 150 mil.
That surprised me.
Yeah.
He's just been in so many famous movies.
Yeah.
That seems strange that today this weekend is his biggest one of all time.
Yeah. Well, he can open a movie.
Hell yeah.
But in terms of I think again we want to get back to movies. We miss movies. But yeah, I don't need the, hey guys, I'm on my Zoom in my director's chair in Telluride, Colorado in my mansion. Okay, so Top Gun 2, some person deemed a reviewer on the internet on Rotten Tomatoes said about Top Gun 2, this is basically just escapist authoritarian porn for white dads.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't like people who put basically. Like, this is just any word like this is sort of like, or it's kind, or it's essentially saying, I don't like that. Just say, this is escapist authority, to like jump out of the gate.
Own it.
Yeah. Come strong, bro. And then I don't like just in general. This is basically just this is escapist authoritarian porn for white dads. Throw about 8 exclamation points on there. You'll go viral, okay, bro? Isn't that what we're all out here for? Okay, so the movie, honey, Top Gun: Space Maverick. Your initial thoughts, comments, feelings, reflections.
The very first scene just had me with a smile on my face.
Oh my gosh.
Tom Cruise in that tight white t-shirt, bringing it back, the classic look from the original.
Yeah.
And he's with a plane in a hangar.
Yeah.
In the desert.
A hangar.
And it jumps right in. Mm-hmm. It's exciting. The very beginning, he's hopping on his motorcycle and he's racing down the freeway to get in a jet.
Yeah.
And I was thrilled.
Yeah. Well, so he goes to whatever plane hangar base, and he needs to get into what's essentially a stealth bomber fighter that's super modern and high tech, and he needs to get to 10
Mach 10.
Mach 10.
All I thought about was my Mach 3 razor when they were talking about this.
Yes, the classic that we still use. Gillette puts 5 razors in blades now, 5 blades in a razor, but yet the Mach 3 is so trustworthy.
It is
so dependable. But he needs to get to Mach 10, and he makes it. Spoiler alert! But he hops in this plane, and you're just like, holy crap! This is what a movie's about. This is what going to movies about. This is Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise. I remember back in the day, common criticism was Tom Cruise never stops being Tom Cruise. In other words, you can't take him seriously in any role. And sometimes I buy that, sometimes I don't. But this is Top Gun Maverick. This is Tom Cruise being I'm just like, that's Tom Cruise. He's being Tom Cruise.
I reject that claim that you can't take him seriously. He has done so many dramatic roles.
He has.
And he's very good.
Yeah.
He's done so much action, especially in the last 10 years, that I think a lot of his older dramatic roles have been kind of forgotten.
Yeah.
Like that one where he's yelling at Jack Nicholson.
A Few Good Men.
Whatever.
Yeah.
that's just the first one that came to mind. But yeah, he's done a ton of work that wasn't like an action film.
Yeah.
But even in action films, you suspend disbelief in the sense that, like, you know, he's going to survive and they're going to succeed in their mission.
Mm-hmm.
But I never feel like it's ridiculous. It's not like the Fast and the Furious.
Right.
It never crosses that line.
Right.
So I'm in it with Tom.
Yeah.
I'm there for the ride.
Yeah.
And it's believable.
Yeah.
Even though it's like extraordinary.
Yeah. I was reading some stuff about Top Gun Maverick, and Tom and Joseph Kosinski is the director. But they try to be as real and practical as possible with special effects. And of course, there's some hijinks with CGI played here and there. But they try to be as real because it's visceral and you feel it. Like when Tom Cruise is toggling back and forth in a valley in this plane, and you hear him go, oh. It resonates. It goes through your veins, and you're like, oh,
for sure.
You're there with Tom, and it's such a breath of fresh air compared to like Doctor Strange, which is the Benedict Cumberbatch pointing his hand and doing these motions with his hands, and
so much green screen and CGI.
It's a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, Tom Cruise movies they feel real.
Yeah.
You feel like it's here on Earth.
Attainable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oop.
I was watching Eternals, which is another Marvel cinematic piece of shit. But anyways, fairly early on, Nanjani, the Indian dude.
Oh, Kamal.
Him. And I pointed this out to you because I was like, watch this on the TV. So his power or whatever is he makes his hands into like little guns, like pew pew you did when you were a kid. And he turns them to the side, 90 degrees. And that's his thing. And then lasers shoot out of his index finger and his middle finger. And they shoot into the fake beast that is that Marvel created. And so he just turns his fingers and he goes choo choo, and he doesn't make those noises. But this is a visual, an audio medium, honey. We're not on YouTube. But so he just choo choo, and there's another monster over here. So he turns his fingers again, choo choo, choo, and I just thought, this is really dumb. He's on some giant soundstage in Burbank or London. I mean, who knows? And there's just a green screen everywhere. There's green everywhere. He's wearing a silly costume. And he's turning his hands over. And they're going to add it all in post. And I was like, this is really stupid. I don't want to watch this. I have no desire to watch this. Doctor Strange is a huge hit, but I have zero desire to watch it. I'm sure it's a fine flick, but whatever. Like, there's only so many lights that come out of your hands as you wave them like you're a freaking 80s Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. I'm over it. I don't care. But the planes, and like I said, I was reading stuff. The director and Tom, everything was as real as possible. They put cameras in the cockpit. They put cameras on the actual planes, on the wings. And they got these giant fighter jets in the sky going around, and it's so refreshing. It's so cool, and you feel it, and I really appreciate it. Instead of Carl Nanjiani pointing his fingers at nothing, and then all of a sudden a movie happens. It's meaningful. I dig it.
And oop.
Okay, so. Top Gun Maverick, best movie ever.
Agree.
Severance, best TV show ever.
Agree.
Is it? Are we just lucky, honey, that these two cinematic entertainment properties came into our lives? Okay, so here are my ideas, notes, observations, hot takes. There's a few times. He does the talk to me goose thing where he's well, in the first one he's rubbing Goose's dog tags. That's what they're called, right? Mm-hmm. But in this one, the same thing. He's like, "Talk to me, Goose. Talk to me, Goose." And I thought,
so cheesy.
Yeah, and then Miles Teller does similar. "Talk to me, Dad. Talk to me, Dad." That's Rooster, Goose's son.
Yes.
And I just thought, this is dumb. And I thought, well, talk to me, Xenu. Talk to me, Xenu.
This movie, a few times it went a little too far in the like flashbacks to the original Top Gun, looking at Goose dying.
Too much homage.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about the opening scene when he gets into a stealth whatever, hits Mach 10, and it's just the coolest thing. It's the biggest rush as a moviegoer sitting there in the theater. But they do this beautiful, glorious shot from whatever, the Milky Way, where Tom Cruise is pretty much in space, like zooming around. And I thought, this is so fucking cool. And then I thought, this Jeff Bezos, these billionaire jerk-offs who are Richard Branson, who go into space, quote-unquote space, for 2 minutes, that doesn't mean jack shit to me. But Tom, and I realize this is fake, okay? I realize this is fiction. It's not, it did not happen. But
wait, Tom didn't do that?
Tom in space at Mach 10 was more meaningful. Like, it just sent a rush through my entire body. I was like, this is something. Who cares what Jeff Bezos is doing?
If you're gonna go to space for a couple minutes, do it in a beautiful Hollywood film.
Yeah.
Give us something to see.
Yeah, exactly. Right from the start, you mentioned when he's going through his little desert hangar there, they show pictures of Goose, and it was right away, you're just like heartstrings, like, oh, Goose, rest in power.
But at the same time, it was a whole wall of a collage of these photos that you recognize, like shots from the first movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is this realistic? Would a grown man have like a whole wall montage of his best friend from 30 years ago?
He would take one and
he'd have like a photo on his desk. Get a frame. Right.
That's what a grown man would do. Well, the Scientologists are an odd breed, honey. So he's texting, Tom is texting with the Iceman, Val Kilmer, and they end their texts in periods. And
you and I both noticed this.
Yeah, it takes you out of the picture.
Movies have yet to achieve like a realistic vision of how people text. Mm-hmm. It's always so fake. So Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise are texting back and forth very quickly. Like a sentence appears immediately with a period at the end. Yeah, it's so fake.
Yeah, they don't nail that. Or why did they add the period? I could see maybe Val Kilmer having the period because he's an admiral now. He's big time.
Very serious.
But Tom, well, maybe Tom is very formal.
But they're buddies more than whatever.
Do you think the real Tom Cruise, not Pete Mitchell, do you think the real Tom Cruise has an email address? Do you think he has a telephone with a phone number?
No.
And really?
This is the thing about Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
We know from his movies, he personally knows how to fly jets. He knows how to fly a helicopter.
Yes.
He knows how to like race a speedboat and probably any sort of like army equipment out there. He can man it. But I don't think he knows how to do anything like that we do in our day-to-day lives when it comes to technology.
Why?
I don't think he like has a iPhone. I don't think he knows how to use the internet.
Why?
I think he's very sheltered and shielded from the real world.
Okay.
I think he's pampered. I think he's waited on by his staff.
Yeah.
And David
What
Miscavige.
does he do all day? Work out?
I think he does Scientology
and
stuff.
Study? Yeah.
He learns his lines for his movies. He practices flying jets.
Yeah.
He meditates.
Yeah.
He like does yoga.
Yeah.
He rides his 4-wheelers.
Yeah.
And ski jets.
Like, because I've read a little about Scientology, and well, I watched that Leah Remini thing. Okay, I'll be honest. But the Scientologists are not really denied the internet, but their use is very limited, and what they can see is very they don't let them out there onto the World Wide Web. But the leaders, Miscavige and whatever, very into cyberspace, and because it's a whole, they got all the propaganda, they got websites.
They're exempt from all the rules.
Yeah,
that's how it works in these high demand religions.
Right, in this so-called cult.
And
one part where I think really the only misstep of the movie was fairly early on. It was right after the scene we were talking about when Tom Cruise goes lunar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Into space. They introduce the entire class. There's 12 kids. Tom Cruise is teaching 12 young pilots how to defeat this mission that they have, navigate this mission. And they introduce them all at one time. And I was like, this is a lot of characters and a lot of it's a lot to take in at once. And I thought it was too much. And this is when Goose walks in. And
not Goose. Goose's prodigy.
Rooster. Son. Rooster, he walks in, and he's just they have him, so he's there. It's at a bar and they're playing pool, but then he gets to the piano and he starts singing Great Balls of Fire, like Anthony Edwards, aka Goose, in the first one. And I was like, this is just it's too on the nose, like it was too much, I thought.
I think they went a little too hard in trying to make Miles Teller super resemble Goose.
Yeah.
Like down to this ugly little mustache.
Bad mustache.
Same sunglasses.
Hawaiian shirt.
Same attire.
Yeah.
They tried a little too hard. Like, this is Goose's son.
Yeah.
But I actually enjoyed that scene.
Mm.
I caught a few names here and there, but I realized it wasn't important to remember everybody's names. So I just kind of tried to take in the scenery and the festiveness of these young cadets hanging out. I thought it was a fun time. And I liked Tom Cruise was sitting at the bar by himself across from them.
Sitting.
Just kind of watching.
Yeah.
And I liked that. The opposite. The old guy, the old seasoned vet watching the young guys and remembering like the good times when he was younger.
Yeah. Well, the first one, it really concentrated on obviously Goose and Maverick, but then Iceman and Slider. But then, and there were other guys, pilots, at the Top Gun at that time. But you didn't know what the hell was going. But this, they give you a lot of characters, and there's a lot of lines. They give them lines of dialogue and camera time, and it's like, this is a lot to take in. It was a small misstep, but it was after the stealth scene when he goes into space. It was such a high in the beginning, and then it's like, oh, here we go. You break my nerves and you rattle my mind. And I was like, oh, this started out so well, and now the rest of the 2 hours is going to suck. But
no, luckily that was only one scene. You felt that way, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I thought there were lots of homages, and like there was shots of Tom Cruise on a motorcycle and then the plane. Lots
of recreations of like shot for shot recreations of iconic scenes from the original.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought the one that didn't rub me the right way, as Johnny Gill used to say. He was an R&B singer in the 90s, kids. But they kind of recreated how Kelly McGillis was introduced to the Top Gun school. They kind of did that for him, for Tom Cruise. Like literally shot for shot, where they follow him walking through the students and then the turnaround. I was like, it's just a little too much. The air flying. One scene, like the music was super loud, and they're already wearing the pilot masks, so you can barely hear them. Yeah, and yeah, I'm an anti-masker. Okay, when it comes to COVID and Top Gun, am I right? But the music's super loud. You can't see their mouths, and they're yelling. They get into these bizarre arguments. Like, does this really happen? I'm sure it happens on some level in real life with the pilots and fighting, but they just get into stupid back and forths, and it's like, well, I can't understand what you're saying, and would this really happen in a jet fighter
That's something I hate about the original, is it's when they're up in the air yelling at each other through their little, like...
Yeah. Darth Vader.
Those masks are called.
Yeah.
You have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And, like, zoom, 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 like, all these quick shots to them and whoever they're fighting.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I thought this one was a bit cleaner.
Yeah.
And a bit easier to follow along with.
Yeah.
And for some reason I could understand... I don't know the terminology, but I was able to keep up with, like, what was happening.
Yeah. I think it's been nearly 40 years, and let's be honest, most of us watch stuff with subtitles, so I think they're kind of giving a nod to, like, we need to make this dialogue pretty freaking clear because it's hard to understand them. The jets are going. They got freaking Creedence Clearwater Revival song blasting while this is all happening, and then they're yelling at each other. But it is better. But well, I just want subtitles at movies. Okay, give us old fogies a break. Another thing was I have a problem with this in the first movie, but there's the pilot in the front, and then the guy in the back. All he does is he's looking up, looking back. Where is he? Where's the MiG? Where is he? Is he on our back? Oh, I don't know. I can't see him. And don't they have radars and the technology is better all around this entire movie from 1986.
They kept pointing out the differences in the planes from now to 1986 in the movie.
Yeah.
They made that abundantly clear.
But still, the guy in the back is looking up and I can't see him, man. I can't see him, man. I can't see him. Oh, he's on our tail, man. Smoke in the air. Smoke in the air.
He does. The guy in the back pushes the button for the flares. I noticed that.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
And he does the radio.
It's very important.
Yeah. The first one, volleyball scene, very hot.
Hot and iconic.
But in this one, they play football on the beach. Lots of shirtless guys.
And a couple girls in sports bras.
Yeah. And then one guy who was too big to be shirtless, who was wearing a giant Under Armour jersey. Okay, what happened to body positivity, Tom Cruise?
You know what? He was the referee, and he wasn't one of the little cadet guys.
And the nerdy guy who...
Oh, Bob?
Yeah.
What was he
was
wearing?
Also wearing a shirt.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah. So, sorry we don't lift like Miles Teller and Jamie Powell.
You know what I did notice is Tom Cruise was shirtless.
Yeah.
He looked just as good as those 20-something guys.
Yeah. Wow.
You couldn't tell them apart from a distance.
Yeah.
Loved...
when you go clear, when you're in operating thetan level 8, honey.
You get those muscles?
You get the traps. Oh, yeah.
I loved the football scene. I was smiling so big during the scene.
Yeah.
It made me feel so happy and warm and good inside.
It was fun.
It was so fun.
It was fun. It gave Abercrombie photo shoot vibes.
And they were bonding. They were becoming a team.
Yeah. They were becoming a team in the movie, but you also knew that you're tackling a bunch of guys in the mud on the beach in the sand or whatever. You get a little closer, honey, if you know what I'm saying. You mentioned this earlier, but not a ton, but enough clips from the old movie, and they were sort of long, 15, 20, 30 seconds. I was okay.
Yeah.
We watched the movie on Thursday. Okay, can we get a version without the old clips? Val Kilmer is in this. Very small part, but you talk about just meaningful and gravitas, and just he nails it. Tom Cruise nails it. Their scene together. Tom Cruise he showcases his acting capability.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He's fantastic.
Drama, emotion.
Yeah.
That was a very powerful scene between the two of them. And it ended with a funny joke.
Yes, which was
so
perfect. Good. Perfect. So Val Kilmer lost his voice in real life and in the movie. So he has to type to Tom Cruise. And so they have this conversation where Val Kilmer types on the computer screen, and then Tom Cruise responds verbally. But
one line that Val Kilmer types is it's time to let go. And I thought that was really meaningful to Val Kilmer because he had a glorious life, handsome, 80s heartthrob.
Dashing Hollywood leading man for a few films.
Who doesn't have his voice now and is an older dude. And so it's time for him to let go of whatever that life was or that idea, that image. And I think Tom Cruise, God bless him, he's 59. But at some point, I think he should let the action genre go.
Yeah, but not yet. Because Mission Impossible is coming out next year.
And there's 2 of them.
And it said the trailer for Mission Impossible says part 1. And I was like, what?
Yeah, there's 2 of them.
I guess we have at least 2 more Mission Impossible movies coming up.
Yeah.
But I am really happy that Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
I'm happy he got, like, they didn't need to include him. He didn't need to be a character in this film at all.
Yeah.
I thought that was so nice. I thought it was cool that him and Tom Cruise's characters, like, had this bond throughout the years. And it's really nice that he got this little role at this point in his life and his career. I was happy for him.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see him.
It was just, it really gets you. They do it so well. One thing is that, well, in this scene, but in much of the movie, the dialogue, so well written, especially compared to 1986 Top Gun.
1986 is so cheesy.
Yeah.
And like when Kelly McGillis and Tom Cruise in the original are like fighting and yelling at each other, it's so stupid. It's like,
bad.
Yes, this is something 2 people in their early 20s would be fighting about in a romantic relationship. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
This movie, I was worried it would cross the line of being like stupid or cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
It could have gone south.
Yeah.
But it didn't. The dialogue was great.
Yeah.
It was concise.
Yeah.
It was well done. It was so funny.
Yeah.
We laughed out loud so much. And so did the crowd that we were watching it with. That was really fun.
Well, this movie, it rides this line of like, it's cheesy, but you're also here for it. Like, you
true.
buy into it. Like Tom Cruise saving the mission, trying to get over this mountain, and there's missiles everywhere. And it's like, well, going back to the opening scene where he's in the stealth deal, like you see the little the numbers on the screen on his mocks, 9.5, 9.6, and you're just like, oh, go. So it's super corny, but at the same time, it's freaking glorious, and it rides that difficult to navigate line of just being dumb, but also just being the bomb.
Right.
And it's so good. I don't know how they nailed it, but they freaking
They really
nailed
did.
it.
They really did. When I heard this movie was going to be happening a couple of years ago, I heard about it. I was like, oh my gosh, no. Why are they doing this? It's going to be so bad.
Yeah.
So needless to say, they did good.
Yeah.
And it exceeded all my expectations.
I would say overall, it's a better movie than the original Top Gun.
Agree.
But I think in the pantheon, the zeitgeist in terms of pop culture, the first one is untouchable. Like, it was just so different and just something unique and new.
Well, I think it was awesome and amazing at the time.
Yeah.
But overall, I think this is a better film.
Yeah, absolutely. The mission, it's essentially the final mission that he trains the kids, the young pilots for, and that he eventually flies himself with a couple of the young kids. It's the Star Wars mission when Luke had to like fly and then launch those whatever depth fire laser chargers at the precise moment to explode the Death Star. It's the same exact mission. Like, what the heck?
That's war, man. You know, I did appreciate, though, that this movie was so clear with the plot and the objective.
Yes.
In the first one, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. I couldn't even tell you what was going on.
We just rewatched it, and I have no idea what that conflict at the end was and who they were fighting and why.
Right.
But in this, it's very clear. They have one mission from beginning to end that they train for, and then they execute at the end.
Yeah.
So it's you know what's going on the whole time.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that.
Yeah. The movie, like I said, well, this is my line, honey. But going back to when they introduced all the characters, and I thought, this is kind of dumb. And Miles Teller singing Great Balls of Fire, this is dumb. That's when the movie took a dive and went below the hard deck, honey. If you know what I'm saying.
If you know, you know.
IYK. There was a guy near me, 2 seats away. He was laughing out loud. Yeah. Like he had a ha 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 ha.
You and him both had the loud laugh.
That was my thing. At first I was like, why is this asshole laughing? But then I was like, wait, he's laughing at what I'm laughing at.
Yeah, you two both. And I was really happy that you weren't the only one. You had a buddy.
I know. So then, at first I was like, who's this asshole laughing so loud? But then he wasn't laughing at every single thing. And it was a very controlled laugh. And so I was like, okay, well, this guy's on my vibe. But then I thought, well, there's probably a couple people in our vicinity who were like, who are these fucking assholes laughing so loud at everything? But that was my spirit, bro. Tom Cruise, going back to the homoeroticism. Before he flies the final mission, he's stroking the missiles on the plane.
Yeah, he is.
So, let's just say, you know. But he did that in the first one.
Wow.
I wonder. I think if I did that, if I was a pilot, I would do that. I was like, "What's up, baby?"
Yeah, try to be one with the plane, one with the missiles before you go airborne.
Oh yeah, you're gonna kill that country. They don't name a country. You never see any. In the first one, it's Russian MiGs. In this one, it's nondescript.
I think wisely, nondescript.
Yeah. Tom Cruise is a short man. Miles Teller is a tall man. And so they have a few scenes where they're jawing at it, going head to head, nose to nose. And it's like, wow,
chin to forehead, more like.
There's a vast height difference. Why didn't Tom insist on being on a little board or
I feel like he usually does in his movies.
Yeah.
His height is not apparent in his films.
Right. But this time...
That was a choice they made. And
it stood out. And I was like, wow.
They let him be his natural self.
It's very notable. Get him some shoes with 6-inch heels or something. Hangman, that's the character. I believe his name is Jamie.
No, his name is Neil. No. Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell. Who is sort of the Iceman.
He's sort of the hotshot antagonist.
But he's not good at it. Or the part isn't good. It's not there. He tries to be a cocky badass. He's not a cocky badass, or it's written poorly. It doesn't connect.
I liked it.
Yeah.
But I think we were comparing it to the original Iceman.
Yeah.
And it was no Iceman, okay?
Yeah.
But I liked him. He was good.
He was okay. But let's get to what really matters, honey. How handsome he is. He has a look that... Listen, if I was a girl, okay, he's fine. He's a handsome chap. But there's nothing noteworthy about his handsomeness. He's a good-looking bloke, but he's not like Tom Cruise movie star.
No.
Handsome.
He's handsome in the way that a Ken doll is handsome.
Yes.
Very, nothing unique or stand out.
Yes.
But undeniably, objectively good looking.
Yes. Yes. End of the movie. Hold on to your butts.
Holy smokes.
It's a good half hour.
At least 4 climaxes.
The
movie's climaxing.
Yeah.
Big fight, battle. It ends. No. It's not over yet.
Yeah.
There's more to come.
Yeah. And at first I was like, why are they doing this? This is an odd turn. But then I was like, I'm here for it.
Totally.
This is the bomb. This is the best. It made me want to join the Navy, honey. Does the Navy need a man in his mid-40s who is a little bit in shape, but carry a few extra lbs, like the guy in the Under Armour jersey at the beach?
You could be that guy.
I lift, honey. Can you put the word in? But I was digging it, cheering,
so much fun,
clapping, so much fun.
We were squeezing each other's hands.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to lose a finger.
Well, I'm really strong. I lift.
Yeah.
In case you didn't know, as I mentioned before.
At one point I was like, is Tom Cruise gonna die? I whispered in your ear.
Yeah. And I was like, why would it? But then I thought, why not? I mean, in a business sense, in a movie Hollywood sense, Miles Teller can take the franchise now, and Tom Cruise doing another one in 36 years.
He's got Mission Impossible over here. But yeah, you do the second film after 36 years, it would be a bold move to kill off the main character. And it would be fine because
it would be awesome.
It took you 36 years to make the second film.
Yeah, it would be excellent, but how they ended it, also excellent.
Oh my gosh, so good.
Yeah.
I teared up.
You did.
A tear nearly escaped my eye duct.
Yeah.
But I didn't let it.
Well, I looked over you. Well, I look over you all the time when we're watching movies, but especially, and you had your hands over your mouth. You were like, "Oh my god!" I mean, you weren't making these noises or whatever, but because you were worried and you were on the edge of your seat.
It was so exciting, and I was so terrified for the outcome of all of these characters.
It was a 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5 stars.
Excellent film, best movie of all time.
Yeah. In a larger sense, I just want to bring up, so Tom Cruise is 59 now, and, well, I heard this on another podcast, honey. I listen to other podcasts.
Are we stealing material?
Besides ours. But it was brought up that, like, an athlete has a shelf life, and most athletes, it's really a couple years. You can go 10 years, maybe 15 on the long end. But actors are the same way. And so an athlete, you play, and then you might go to the broadcast booth or whatever. You might become a spokesman for an advertiser guy.
You pivot at some point from the action to the non-action.
Right. And so Tom Cruise is 59 now. And he looks great, but he is older. Who isn't? We all are. But at some point, does he need to pivot? Does he need to take dad roles or grandpa roles or like be a Robert Redford or James Earl Jones?
He's gonna have to. I did think of Robert Redford too. That's a good example.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise right now, it's like the Tom Brady of the film industry.
Yes.
And it can't go on forever. You've had like a long, illustrious run.
Yeah.
Like better than anybody.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, Tom Cruise has the acting chops, drama, comedy.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to do action. I think he just loves it. He seeks the thrill.
Yeah.
What's it called when you like adrenaline junkie?
Yes.
I think he's an adrenaline junkie mixed with
absolutely
like loving Hollywood and film and having the ability to make these films.
Yes. And this is what I'm this is where I'm going. So he's putting his all. He's putting 150% into this movie, every movie. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
As a moviegoer. But it's much like Pete Mitchell in the movie, who's sort of hanging on to dogfighting and missions. And then there's actually a small storyline of Ed Harris wanting to get the drone program going. Right. Is Tom Cruise he is hanging on to this idea of movies and 2-hour spectacles and just us going out. And is that where Lennox and Luna and kids in general, they like TikTok and girls dancing and pointing at words on their phones, and they do have the space for movies here and there, but is that time going? Is it fleeting by? Will it be gone? I think it will be gone sooner rather than later. I think he's more to this point. He's the last leading man. We were talking about this with Lennox,
and he brought up Chris Pratt, and I was like, Chris Pratt he's so interchangeable. He seems like a fine fellow, and he serves a purpose well in movies, but he is not a Hollywood. He can't. He's in intellectual property that's been around for decades, and so people know it, and he serves a role. He serves a function, but he can't put asses in seats like Tom.
Right.
Like Tom.
I think it's notable that a 10-year-old is able to pull a name like Chris Pratt. So I think Chris Pratt, it's noteworthy that he's garnered enough attention that a random kids know who he is.
Yeah.
But it's like Tom Cruise in the 80s. Like in the 80s, a kid could pull Tom Cruise's name out. But then Tom Cruise has proven himself over the last 40 years. And I don't know if those opportunities are going to be available to actors to prove themselves in the same way. Yeah. Maybe the action star, the big Hollywood star, maybe it's a thing of the past. Yeah. Maybe Tom Cruise is single-handedly kind of extending that.
He's holding on to it.
I love him for it.
Exactly. But he's holding on to it for dear life, and God bless the kid.
That scene with Val Kilmer, like you pointed out.
Yeah.
They repeatedly emphasized that line, "It's time to let go."
Yeah.
I wonder if that was sort of a subtle clue from Tom Cruise. I wonder if he has a 10-year plan. Oh. Like he put out Top Gun 2, which is such a passion project of his. He's been working on this for years.
Yeah. And it's a culmination of decades, yeah.
And you can tell a lot of love and effort went into it. And then he has these next 2 Mission Impossible movies coming out. And then I wonder if he personally knows when this is going to end. He says, I'm going to do these few movies and then I'm going to transition.
He can't hang off the edge of planes flying up.
What more? He's pushed it to the limit. He's literally pushed himself so far in every direction that an action and film star could go. Yeah. Maybe he knows, I've done what I can do.
I've recruited as many people to Scientology as possible. It's my time to chill and free Shelley Miscavige. Lennox brought up Chris Pratt, who I think is a nothing burger.
I do too.
But then I thought about Will Smith, who pretended to slap Chris Rock. Whatever. I think he's taken a dive commercially within the past decade or so, and then this whole just nothing incident. And then I thought of The Rock.
Yeah, The Rock is another name.
Yeah. But with The Rock, his body always gets in the way of me make-believing, or I can't get past it. He's just such a huge dude.
That's so interesting. Tom Cruise is the physical opposite of The Rock.
Yeah.
And yet, Tom Cruise, action star, he's the man.
Yeah.
I feel like The Rock depends on his body.
Yeah.
And he's been doing and taking all these roles that he has because he knows he can't maintain this body forever. So his roles are more look at me.
Yeah.
Where Tom Cruise is more technically, he figures out different ways to push the envelope. But The Rock, he deserves some praise for continuing this sort of genre of action hero films.
He's talented.
He hasn't done much lately, has he?
Jungle Cruise and the other Jumanji.
Jumanji 2? Yeah. I wonder what's going... And is he older?
He's got stuff coming. He's got Black Adam coming.
Okay. He's about Tom Cruise. Well, I don't know how old it is, actually.
No, I think he's still in his 40s.
Okay.
Late 40s.
Okay.
I my grand pronouncement is that this is the end of movies. It was fun, end of film, but not really. The end of film, and the kids these days are entertained by attractive young girls pointing at words.
Speaking of Chris Pratt,
yeah,
how about that Jurassic Park trailer?
Sure.
Chris Pratt plus the original Jurassic Park team.
Yeah.
Are you here for it? Are we going to see it?
No.
I want to see it. Laura Dern.
It goes back to the CGI nonsense. A bunch of chases with dinosaurs. I don't care. Lennox has expressed interest, but...
Yeah. Oh, we're going to see it.
Okay.
At home.
If we have to. Okay. Well, now I'm into it. But yeah, this is the end of film, and I blame the telephone and TikTok. It's changing. Life is always changing, but
yeah,
Tom is the last of a dying breed, and I'm thankful and grateful for all the entertainment he's brought me. And he actually talked to me on the movie screen right before the movie. He said, "Hey guys, we out here making a movie."
He thanked you for coming.
We appreciate you. But his contribution to entertainment and my youth, and now he's older than me, obviously, but he's been there with me throughout my life, and I appreciate him. Yeah.
Do you think he's one of a kind because he's sacrificed his children for his career?
Oh, shoot.
Truly. Yeah. Like, could he have done what he has done, and be a present father?
No.
Or a present partner for anybody.
Right.
I feel like he's married to his craft.
Yeah. And
Scientology.
David Miscavige. Yes.
He's the new Shelley.
He is. What? Okay.
Oop.
Well, it's time to let go of this pod. Are we done, honey?
Yep.
Alrighty. Well, that's the end of the program. It's been fun, but not really. Let's all try a little harder next time. Like, comment, subscribe, follow, review, and rate. Or don't. Do whatever you want. You're a grown-up. Make your own decisions. Be better than Tom Cruise was to his own family. Please be sure to use our promo code for Stamps.com. We don't have a promo code for Stamps.com. By the way, Conan O'Brien's podcast, he had an ad for Bush's Baked Beans.
I love Bush's Beans.
Well, that's what I thought. Well, first I was like, why are Bush's Baked Beans advertising on Conan O'Brien podcast? But then the next thought I was like, I want some Bush's Baked Beans. It was super effective. It was fantastic. We don't have a promo code for Bush's Baked Beans or Stamps.com. Goodbye, my podcast friends. I love you. My wife and I love you. We hope you have a good day today and tomorrow. And sure, we may have besmirched. Okay. Now, Miles Teller plays Goose's son. But, according to Wikipedia, in July 2018, Miles Teller was cast as the role of Goose's son against Nicholas Hoult and Glenn Powell, who actually ended up in the movie as the pretty boy. But all three were flown to Cruise's home for chemistry tests. They put on white lab coats where they're like beakers and a Bunsen burner. But I thought, so you're Miles Teller. Hey, Tom Cruise wants to do a chemistry test, wants to see a screen test or whatever. What's that like?
I would love to see what that was like.
Like, what is it at Tom's Telluride mansion in Colorado, or what is it in his Holmby Hills mansion in Los Angeles?
Everyone there had to sign an NDA.
Yeah,
for sure.
They send like a all black tinted limo to Miles Teller's condo, and then they bring him to Tom Cruise's estate, and there's someone dressed in Navy garb, like the Scientologists do, to greet him. And so do they offer him a drink? Do they offer him some snacks? Is there alcohol? Is there water? What if he has to go to the bathroom? Does he go? What does Tom Cruise's bathroom look like?
Whew.
And what is a chemistry test? I mean, I assume you run some lines and
I guess
you
so.
pal around or whatever. I would have showed up and been like, Leah Remini's a real bitch, am I right, Tom?
And he'd be like, yeah, you're hired.
or them secular progressives, am I right? Or how about that L. Ron Hubbard, Tom? Like, would you look into Scientology at least a little so you can have some reference? Or I wonder if Tom just keeps it completely business.
I know, like,
but it would be always be on my mind. I would just look around like
what angle should you play?
Yeah, I want to go clear, man. I want to go clear. I mean, I want my part. Anyways, goodbye, my podcast friends.
And sure, we may have besmirched Scientology and Tom Cruise.
Only
but we love Tom.
We love him.
We love him even though he doesn't know we exist. So what am I, a professional sports fan? Go Golden State Warriors. They don't know I exist either.
And oop.
Goodbye. I love you.
We love you. We hope you have a good day today. Wait, and sure. I'm still a good person, and we're still good people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a wonderful day/night. Bye.